I've come to decide that the things that I tried were psychic spies from China. And Cobain, can you hear the scar tissue that I wish you saw? But I don't ever want to feel like I can't stop. This is the music of the Red Hot Chili Peppers. Welcome everyone to episode 2 of the Anthem Jam podcast. I am your host, Jake Riffle, and each episode I'll be walking you through my top 3 song picks for a musical artist, album, genre, or whatever it may be. Since I can't feasibly insert the songs into each show legally, I'll introduce each song, and then I'll have a very small break, no more than a few seconds, where I invite you to pause the podcast and go listen to the song before we take a deeper dive into it. This was a genuinely tough one, folks, since there have been so many phenomenal, well-renowned songs across several albums, so to whittle it down to just 3 songs was a real challenge. But today, we're jamming out to the Sons of LA, the Red Hot Chili Peppers. This is the song that everyone has heard, and I don't mean on vacation. One of their most celebrated songs of all time, this band's Stairway to Heaven, comes in as this week's pick for number 3. It's Californication. So it's at this time, folks, that I'd like to invite you to pause and go listen to our first song. This song begins with the crystal clear, melancholy Stratocaster of John Frusciante and precise hammer-ons and pull-offs of the bassist, Flea. This section is so well mixed that it's difficult to distinguish which instrument plays which part, as the guitar bleeds into the bass, and vice versa. Then the drums pick up, and the iconic lyrics describing the dichotomy that is Los Angeles begins. And, as the title of the track suggests, being a combination of the words California and fornication, something is off, tainted, and this is not the glitzy, glamorous Hollywood that we are led to believe it is. No, this city is riddled with exploitation and despair from the pinnacle of class all the way to the lowest of the low, showing us that in this town, these two are not so different. And the lyric, Dream of Californication, is used satirically, as if to demonstrate that what we think we hope for may not actually be what we're truly searching for. This is a push from singer Anthony Kiedis for authenticity in one's life, as it's understood that Hollywood sells Californication, and invites the listener to examine themselves and ask if the grass really is greener on the other side, or if perhaps something in their heart may actually be holding them back. A bit more upbeat and playful in presentation, this Grammy Award-winning rock song takes us through the Shakespearean life of a Miss Danny, California. Now I'd like to invite you to go take a listen to our second song. Anthony Kiedis described Danny as a kind of caricature of all the women from his previous relationships, and interestingly, this is not her first appearance in the Chili Peppers' work. The lyric of a teenage bride with a baby inside getting high on information in the song Californication is believed to be Danny's introduction into the band's music. The lyrics themselves recount Danny's rather Bonnie and Clyde-like relationship with life, where it's a roller coaster until the very end. But the reason that this song lands at number 2 for me is not because of the story that it tells, but instead the track's musical composition. Drawing inspiration from Lynyrd Skynyrd, the drums and guitar sound like fraternal twins to those used in Sweet Home Alabama, giving us a frame of reference for the story Kiedis is about to regale us with. Additionally, the song demonstrates why the average fan of this band knows the name of the bassist, something that is not particularly common among rock bands. During the verses, the bass line has the most creativity and variation to it. That is, just behind the vocals, a role that is typically taken up by the electric guitar. But that's not to say that the electric guitar is neglected here at all. Frusciante used several different effects pedals to give the guitar its signature, washed-out, funky, flowy tone. Frusciante also used a couple more instruments to add depth to the song by utilizing a modular synthesizer and even a mellotron, a kind of analog synthesizer that uses tape to give it its unique sound. If you've ever heard Strawberry Fields Forever by the Beatles, this is the same instrument they used to create the intro to that song, and I highly recommend the YouTube video, The Mellotron, Famous Songs by Dr. Mix, to see it in action. As a final note about the composition, the guitar solo that fills roughly the last minute of the song is a reference to Jimi Hendrix's intro into Purple Haze. It's hard for me to distinguish this myself, but maybe you can hear it. This is the song that made the Red Hot Chili Peppers popular and solidified their sound in 1991 off of their album, Blood, Sugar, Sex, Magic, and is in my opinion the best combination of musical composition and lyrics that this band has ever put out. This week's number one pick is Under the Bridge. Now it's time where I invite you to go take a listen to our final song. Up until this point, Anthony Kiedis had spent the majority of his career singing his lyrics very quickly to mask his limited range, and the song required him to branch out from that and to be more vulnerable. But the vulnerability didn't stop there for Kiedis, with the lyrics describing his depression and recovery from narcotic addiction. He hid the lyrics from the rest of the band until they were discovered by the band's music producer, who heavily encouraged Kiedis and the rest of the band to turn the poem into the rock ballad that it is now. Kiedis was concerned that the lyrics would be too emotional and feared that they wouldn't fit in with the band's sound. But after sharing them with the band, Frusciante and drummer Chad Smith immediately walked over to their instruments and began to compose the song. Frusciante elected to go with a more cheery chord progression to balance out the sad and heartfelt lyrics. Inadvertently, however, this added an extra depth to the track, illustrating the frontman's journey. The overall composition of the song mirrors not only Kiedis getting high, but also his decision to get sober, with a somber, steady build-up, energetic and passionate chorus and bridge, and crash at the end once the truth must be faced that I don't ever want to feel like I did that day. While they may not be the most feel-good band out there, the Red Hot Chili Peppers are truly masters of their craft and are some of the best storytellers that this world has ever heard, especially when it comes to the story of Anthony Kiedis' redemption. Thank you all so much for listening to this episode of the Anthem Jam podcast. The intro song to the podcast is Veronica by the Denver, Colorado-based indie punk rock band Bad Nostalgia, so a big thanks to them. These guys are great and I love their music, and I highly recommend checking them out on Spotify, Apple Music, and YouTube. All my research was gathered from Wikipedia, unless stated otherwise, and if you enjoyed the podcast, please leave a review on Apple Podcasts and tell someone about the podcast who you think might enjoy it. Episode 3 will be coming out Wednesday, February 24th, and will feature a happy-go-lucky rapper. I just want to give some quick shout-outs to Logan Watson, Abby Hawksworth, Yvonne De La Garza, Devin Borden, Mott's Dale, Ryan Tubbs, Andy Homburger, Krista McAllister, Katie Nelson, and my listener in Walsall, England. I just gotta say, we got some great things to look forward to for this podcast that I cannot wait to share with you. And with that, I'll see you all next week.